Hello everyone and welcome to Fallen Angel Customs. In today's video, I'll be taking this Frankenstein doll and giving her a look inspired by some pins that have popped up on my Pinterest lately. As you can see, I've already removed her neck bolts and factory painted stitches, but don't worry, I'll show you how I did that. So, let's get started. Taking an acetone-free nail varnish remover and a toothbrush, I gently brush at the factory painted stitches and use a piece of tissue to wipe away the excess liquid. While the acetone-free remover doesn't immediately damage the plastic of the doll, I wouldn't recommend leaving it on the doll for too long, as after a while it will start to eat into the plastic. I kept a toothpick to hand to help get into any little grooves caused by the seams of the doll that the bristles of the brush couldn't get into. I repeated this process all over her body to remove all the Frankie's stitches. Taking pattern pieces I created for a previous doll, I pinned them out onto the denim fabric. I was lucky to find this as it's perfect for making denim based items for dolls because it's so thin but gives the perfect denim look. Once all the pieces were cut out, I pinned them together and marked out how low I wanted the sides to be. When I was sewing it all together, I actually amended this and decided to have it sit a little higher up than I originally planned. It's why I always try the items on the doll as I go along to make sure they fit right and sit where I want them to sit. Once I've got the main frame done, I slip it onto the body and work out where I want the front section to sit and where I want the straps to be able to attach. Once I'm happy with that, it's back to sewing, doing all of the seams and hems except for the bottom of her shorts. I decided to use hook and eyes for the fastenings for the straps, but I couldn't make up my mind as to which lace I liked more. The pink one or the cream, it's such a tough decision because they both looked so good. Okay, let's leave it till later and we'll see what looks better at the end. For the hoodie, I quickly sketched up a slightly baggy hoodie, being inspired by one of my own hoodies. Ironically, not only did the hoodie inspire me, but I used the fabric from it to make a mini version since it no longer fits. So, yay for recycling! I pinned, cut and pinned them all together and began sewing everything to make one final piece. I'm trying a different style while doing this piece, so please let me know which you prefer, the style I used for the dungarees or the style for the hoodie. With the hoodie complete, it's time to try it on. Those little ears look so cute. I popped her hands back on to see if I needed to shorten the sleeves at all, but they sit perfectly. Feels like she's missing something though. I know, a little tail. I took a piece of fabric and cut it into a little circle before using a gather stitch all around the edge. Finally pulling the gathers in tight to make a little tail which can be easily sewn into place in the spot I marked with a pin. Isn't it so cute? For the blouse, I wanted to keep it relatively simple, so taking my pattern, white fabric and lace, I begin pinning and cutting everything out. Once it's all cut out and ready, it's time to start sewing. I actually undid the seams for the sleeves to make it easier to sew the cuffs in place, as well as the lace. Getting the lace to follow the curves of the collar was a little tricky, but definitely worth it, adding to the slight Lolita vibe I was getting from how it was turning out. So, once it's fully assembled, I couldn't resist and just had to put a little extra lace down the centre, like the little lacy frills you find normally down the front of a Lolita shirt or blouse, using beads for the buttons. Let's try tackling making shoes again. This time I'm going to be making some cute little sneakers. I cut 4 pieces of foam into the base shape needed and place a pin through the heel section to make sure the arch fits flush with the doll's foot, before filling in the gap with hot glue, removing the pin once the glue is cooled. I sketched out 2 pieces, one to be the tongue of the shoe and the other to be the main body. Since I wanted some of the inside showing, I cut out enough to do the interior and exterior of the shoes, pinning and sewing them all together. I did remake the tongs, finding the original ones a little too small and narrow for my liking. With the pieces I cut out, I glued them around the base of the shoe, the main part first, then the tongs. I painted cute little paw pads on the soles to go with her little hoodie, after placing a thin piece of ribbon all around the bottom edge, leaving only the laces left. Taking the same fabric I used for the hoodie and the same ribbon from around the base of her shoes, I cut a strap and 2 circles. Taking one of the circles and my trusty glue gun, I create a little paw pad design, painting it pink once it's dried. Originally, I planned to embroider the paw, however, because of how fluffy the brown fabric is, it just didn't want to cooperate. Sewing everything together and making a little key charm out of resin, the bag is complete. I added a few little stars to the outside edge of the shoes to add a little more detail to them. I randomly got the idea for this as her outfit came together, but I was also undecided as if I should do this or not, so I took to Instagram and asked for your opinions. So, taking the resin with a little bit of pink pigment, I made 2 half circles, which I then sealed together with a little more resin. Now all that's left is the face and hair. As always, I spray MSC as a base layer before working with the pastels. I originally was planning on having both eyes open when I place the pastels, but when I started doing the pencils, I changed my mind completely, this little one already taking on a personality of her own. So, ever so lightly, I use my pencils to fill in the rest fill in and overall add pigment to her eyeshadow. With each new layer I work on building up the pigments for her eyes and lips, sealing every time the colour stops building or I won't save my progress. And with each new layer, more of a playful personality keeps shining through. To finish, I use my dotting tool and white acrylic paint for the highlights in her eyes before applying gloss to both her eyes and lips. To start, I marked out where I wanted her fringe to go before using hot glue to carefully attach the wefts, starting with the red on the underside. Doing one side at a time, I went along the part and the hairline with the brown before going around with the red, attaching them the opposite way. Once one side is complete, I brushed and styled it into a pigtail, out of the way while I repeated the process on the other side. I decided to do space buns because it reminded me of little bear ears. With her buns in place, it's time to sort out her fringe, separating it into 3 sections. I cut the middle piece straight across to be the main section of her bangs and used an eyebrow razor to shorten the pieces at the sides. Her bangs refused to cooperate, so using a clean toothbrush and some water, I gently wet the hair to tame it and then left it to dry. Let's get her dressed and ready to show off her final look. Now that she is dressed and ready, let me introduce you to Ayla. She really did take on a personality of her own as I worked on her, rapidly creating her own twist on my inspiration from Pinterest. It was great fun experimenting with making her bubblegum out of resin and making her high top sneakers. Thank you everyone for joining us. Until next time!